hit something, get any sort of action in the transfer portal. Well, on Tuesday night, BC lands their first transfer, and it's a big time scorer from a program many folks may not know about, but it shouldn't matter as this guy is going to be the perfect fit in Chestnut Hill.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On BC, your Boston College news every day. This is AJ Black. I am your host. Thank you all for joining. We're going to talk transfer portal news because it has been a crazy last month in college basketball as over 2,500 players have entered the transfer portal from all around the globe, all around college basketball, and two leaving Boston College, which gave BC some room to go out and get a transfer. Now, we've seen BC, not land some of the guys that they have been interested in, and maybe this guy that we're about to talk about was higher on their list, but Boston College on Tuesday night landed Claudell Harris Jr., a 6'3" guard from Louisiana who played for Charleston Southern last year. There's Earl Grant again, getting that roots down there in Charleston, South Carolina, grabbing a guard who was a sophomore last year. Now, yeah, you're probably thinking to yourself, it's Charleston Southern. Why do I care? Well, here's the deal. He is going to give you something that BC desperately needs. And that is a guy who can score. Harris is a big-time scorer. He's top 100 in the country in scoring, averaging 17.4 points per game last year for the Buccaneers. I love saying their name. He shot 46% from the floor and 33% from the three-point range. Not the best number there, but given that he's replacing DeMar Langford, who shot 25%, I guess that's an upgrade, right? He had 2 30-plus point games last year against High Point and Radford. He also averaged 3.9 rebounds per game and 2.4 assists per game. All these numbers went up. So you saw development out of this kiddo from his freshman year to his sophomore year. Exactly what you want to see. And, I think he's going to fit a role that BC desperately needs. You need scorers on this team. You can't just fill your team with guys that are dirt dogs that are going to just grind out wins, because you're going to run into teams that can score. And your defense, as much as you love it, isn't going to be that elite. It's not going to be like UVA a couple years ago where teams just can't score on you. You need guys who can score. You need to get players out there that can put the ball in the hoop. And that's exactly what Harris is. Is he a shooter? No, he's not a shooter. He's more of a slasher. So he's basically, depending on how you want to look at it, the replacement for DeMar Langford. Langford only averaged 7 points per game last year. That being said, it was in the ACC. This was, Claudell Harris in whatever conference, I don't even have it in front of me right now, that Charleston Southern's in, okay? So he's going to have a jump up. Now, the big question will be, will he start? If you look at the guard position, there's a lot of turnover there. You have Mekhi Ashton Langford graduating. He's gone. You have DeMar Langford in the transfer portal. You have Jaden Zachary. He will definitely be one of the starting guards. Now, BC last year liked to have 3, guard type players out there at different times. That to me says that Harris will have that opportunity to do that. And I think that's something that he really, he's really looking for. Now, he said why he talked a little bit about, what he's hoping to see for himself next year. He told 247 Sports, you can see it up on my site, Eagle Insider. He said, for myself, I definitely see myself as a first or second team type guy in terms of all ACC. I always set high standards for myself. I'm not really specific on the numbers, but I feel like if I do my part to help us win, I'll be one of those guys talked about around the league. Sounds like the perfect fit for BC, right? So you'll see him mashing up and probably battling Mason Madsen, Chaz Kelly, Donald Hand to get that starter role. And he may, depending on how Earl Grant wants to roll it out, he may end up playing that role that DeMar Langford played. And that's fine. That's good. We'll have to wait and see. He's got decent size. How he's going to be on the defensive end of this defensive end. I mean, just looking at his numbers, he's a decent rebounder for a guard. And I think I like this. I like this get for Grant. It's not Coessy Reeves. You know what? I actually think I like this one better. Coessy Reeves was a guard from Florida that BC just lost out to from Georgia Tech. He was supposed to be on campus this weekend when he committed to the Yellow Jackets. But Coessy Reeves, to me, had a much lower shooting percentage. He wasn't much of a scorer. Tons of potential, but how many 4-stars have tons of potential and never end up being anything? Harris has shown he can do it. That's what I want. I want a guy that can show he can do it, and that's what exactly what they got here. He's going to fill it in, and now BC now has 2 more roster spots open that they can either go for a true freshman or they can hit up in the transfer portal. 3 if Quinton Post goes somewhere. And I know all BC fans out there listening right now are going, please don't say that, AJ. I don't even want to think about that. But Harris is a good start. I like this. What would I grade this on a 1 to 10? I give this a 7 or an 8. It's not it's not like super flashy. It's not like, you landed Hunter Dickerson from Michigan, like BC ever would have a chance for a guy like that. But given where BC's at with NIL and the way that this team is constructed, it's about as good as you're going to get. You get a guy that's proven that can score, a guy that fills a need on your team, and that's all you can ask for. So in a moment, I'm going to look at where else BC basketball has. And I want to look at some of the things that Harris said to 247 because he brought up a few things that we didn't know about yet about BC. He kind of let it slip in his interview. So you're going to want to hear his thoughts on that in just a moment. Now, are you looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories? Then you need to try the best tasting protein bar ever, Built. If you've listened to this podcast, if you're a daily listener to Locked On BC, you know I am a huge fan of the Built Bar. They're 100% covered in chocolate. They're loaded with protein, low in sugar, low in carbs. It is tremendous. You get 17 grams of protein on these bad boys. And they're 100% real dark chocolate right now, too. They're healthy and they taste amazing. They're not chalky or gross. I love them. My family loves them. My kids eat them. My wife eats them. We have a hard enough time keeping these Built Bars in our house. They're so good. Now, you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, I've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com. But now you can get them at your local Sam's Club or Walmart, and you can get them with specific specialty flavors at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk up to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can get a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puff. And if you're close to Sam's Club, grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter puff, which is one of my absolute favorites, and the churro puff. You can thank me later. Make sure you head over to Built.com right now. You're not going to regret it. They are one of the world's best. They are the world's best protein bar and have been I am a loyal customer of theirs for years, and I hope you join them too. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black, and we are talking about Claudell Harris Jr. And if you have not done so already, I talked to his dad. I knew he had been on the visit. I had that up for our VIP members. I knew he was going to commit. And his dad actually told me before he tweeted it out. So we were the first to basically to go with it that, out of any of the major media networks. So hopefully you check that out. But Deshaun London, who is one of my coworkers at 247, he talked to Claudell, which is interesting because Claudell I just saw he has a Twitter page, but I couldn't find it anywhere. He's not a big guy on social media, his dad was saying. But Deshaun got to talk to him. And I wanted to read you some of the reasons he talked about BC and give you some updates on where one of the things he brought up because I thought it was interesting. He said, I committed to Boston College because when I took the visit, the energy just felt right. It felt like a good situation where I can come in, impact winning, and play my role. I mean, perfect, right? He felt it was a great fit. He ended up canceling his official visit to Florida. That's how much he liked his BC visit, right? How much he thought of Earl Grant and his staff. The fact that you didn't even give a guy from Louisiana, from the South, did not even give the Gators a chance to see if they're a better fit. says a lot about what Earl Grant's doing and his connection with these players, right? That this kid just went, saw it, and was like, I'm going to do it. And it's a Big South. Earlier I said I didn't know what conference it was. He was second team all Big South last year. He said also, the role for me is scoring, of course. They told me my ability to score will be very impactful for the team. I'm an athletic guard at 6'4" with long arms. I can really do it all, and I'm a great teammate, leader, and help the team win. But yes, so here's this. There was a quote he had that I really want to get into here. So what this brings up is a whole other topic, but I really want to get into it. So he said, I'm very confident. After watching this team last year, I saw that they had some very young guys and growing pains, but I feel like it's going to be a breakthrough year for us. The foreign tour this summer will be a great opportunity for me to get acclimated with the guys, build bonds and chemistry. We're going to shock a lot of people and turn a lot of heads. Did you hear that, folks? BC has not done a foreign tour. My gosh, 7-8 years, it feels like. They're not joking around. This is great news. I'm telling you, right? Instead of just practicing, they're going to go out there and they're going to play teams and whatever. And I don't know what countries they're going to go to. It doesn't really matter, but they're playing live basketball against exhibition games against foreign teams. That's good for BC. That's, as Harris says, that's what builds character. That gets a team a good leg up. It gets you going, and you're not like when you play. I don't know who they start the season off. I know that they already scheduled Central Connecticut. We'll just pretend it's Central Connecticut for now. You play Central Connecticut and you're both like trying to get out of first gear to figure out what's going on. You've already started all that because you've already played. You've already, had yourself up against live opponents. That's good. That's what good teams do. They go abroad and they do that kind of stuff. I wonder if they'll play like the Netherlands if Quinton Post comes back, because I saw something about, I think it was Jesse it was the kid, and I'm going to botch his name. There's a kid on Kentucky who got NIL deals in, I think it was the Bahamas, because that's where he's from, because he's a kid on a visa. You can't get NIL deals in the US because of work visa issues. So they just took him on a tour there and he got some at home. Wonder if they would do that in the Netherlands so Post can get some. Just a thought. But I love this. I love that they're doing a foreign tour. I think that'll be news we're going to have to watch to see where they end up and who they play against. Now, folks have been asking me, AJ, where does BC go from here? They have 2 more scholarships that we know about, possibly 3 if, God forbid, Post leaves. I have to tell you, I've seen BC linked, excuse me, to a bunch of transfers, but if you've been following these, if you've been following the news about, any of these transfers, you notice that some of these kids are talking to 20 teams. I think they're garbage. I think those lists are garbage. They don't mean anything. What I want to know is if they're guys that are going on past that. Are they Zooming? Are they having kids, coaches come to their house? Are they visiting on campus? I have to say right now, I have not heard about any other transfers that are doing that. So BC has their name in with a bunch of different transfers, but I haven't seen them take that next step yet. We'll have to wait to see if anything develops. They had Coessy Reeves. That fell apart. They now have Claudell Harris in. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after either another big or a wing. I think those would probably be the 2 things that they're going to look for, but I haven't seen them linked to anyone. Jordan Minor was a name a lot of folks have been asking me about. That's the kid that played for Merrimack. He's a center. He ain't coming here. I saw all the schools. He's looking at like Virginia, Georgia, some of the bigger programs in the country. He's not going to come here. But we'll have to wait and see. I think it was last year when Mason Madsen committed to BC. I don't think I might have missed it, and I apologize if I did, but I feel like that one came out of nowhere. I don't remember him being a guy that we were talking about as, like we saw Harris. If you're following along on my site, I had written about him. I knew about his visit. I knew all this stuff. Madsen, I think, felt like came out of nowhere. So maybe there'll be a transfer that surprises us. The name, though, I think we should all be watching for isn't a transfer. It's a late 2023 recruit His name is Elijah Strong. We've talked about him on this podcast. This is a kid from South Carolina again, or North or South Carolina. I don't have it. North Carolina. Again, the Earl Grant backyard, who has not blown up, but had some really strong play in his senior season. I would not be surprised if BC lands him, and it might happen this weekend. He's coming for an official visit to Boston College on Friday and Saturday. He could be a name. He's a 6'8" forward, kind of fills a need. Um, a, Not a polished scorer, not like a huge offensive threat, but from what I've read, he fits that like mentality that Earl Grant has. He's a huge character guy, a lot of energy. I think fans would love him from what I've seen and heard. And I've talked to him. I've got interviews up with him on Eagle Insider. So check that out. So that's, I think, the next step. After that, it's going to be a surprise. I don't know who else BC's going after. I haven't heard much. But if you want to know, I'm going to continue to look and dig. I mean, I talked to Claudell's dad last night. I will continue to look and see who else there. Now, in our final segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about the next couple days in terms of recruiting for the football team. We're going to look at baseball's big win and all the other news that's going on in BC sports. There's some news you're not going to want to miss. This is Locked On BC. AJ Black here. Happy Thursday, everyone. And I want to thank each and every one of you who has subscribed. Marty Party just gave the number of where we're at. We are at 933 subs. We are 67 away from hitting 1,000, which I would love to get to. So if you have not subscribed already, please hit that subscription button. Would love to have you join up and become part of our BC Locked On BC Nation here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and like the video too. We'll have some fun stuff this summer. I think you're not going to want to miss. All right. Spring football game is on Saturday. And folks have been asking me, and I got to reiterate it because it's one of those things. Things that drive AJ crazy. Why haven't we been talking about what's going on at practice? There hasn't been a lot to talk about at practice. What we do know, and what I can tell you, is the stuff that the staff has been talking about, and there's been some interesting stuff. On Thursday, Jeff Hafley will talk to the press again. I will give you some of the breakdowns of some of the things he talks about, and we'll hopefully get some updates on some of the things heading into the spring game, but also recruiting. This week, BC has 3 practice days. They had one on Tuesday, they have one today on Thursday, and they have the spring game. Those days are going to be big recruiting days, and you've seen BC use those days for a number of things. They're getting guys on campus that they have big interest in. We've seen, guys like Kamori Dixon, Bo Tate, Elijah Newby. These are guys that BC has high up on their boards. And then you see BC go ahead and meet guys that they want to see if they're going to fit. Now, they obviously offered Henry Hasselbeck, who I have a crystal ball in, to commit to BC at quarterback. And with what's going on with Luke Moga, another quarterback I know they were interested in, I feel really confident this is going to be the guy they end up with, I think. But Henry Hasselbeck, and then they had a trio of kids that they just offered from the Brunswick School in Connecticut. 2 of them are offensive linemen. So I think that these visits are important because you see the kids that you're interested in, and then you get a better feel and make offers to kids that you're gonna go that next step with. And I that's exciting. That's getting to that next layer of recruiting. And I think we're going to start to see BC, really solidify their big board with some of these kids that are coming up that maybe we didn't know about like a couple weeks ago. And I think you'll see some new names. I'll hopefully have tomorrow the Thursday's visitor list, and I'm sure I'll have Saturdays. So we'll get onto that. Now, baseball had their second straight midweek game. They just beat Harvard last night on a home run by Nick Wang in the bottom of the 9th. Today, it was a sloppy game, but they went out ahead and they got the win. That's, again, at this point of the season, you just got to earn the win. They beat Dartmouth on the road. And again, it was Nick Wang. Nick Wang's been having a heck of a season. He had a walk-off on Tuesday, and then he had a 5-hit, 5 RBI game and hit a home run and 3 doubles today. So he is absolutely on a torrid pace for BC. This was a game BC could not lose because Dartmouth is 1-24. They have 1 win. 1. So BC had it, but the fact that they still scored 10 runs, I think is a little concerning. But you know what? These midweek games, it's kind of just throwing out a whole bunch of guys to save your weekend starters because BC has Duke coming up this weekend. That's a manageable game. You take 2 out of 3, you're now 25-10. So BC is now 23-9. They're still finding ways to win every game. Also, the 2 other names I forgot that I wanted to bring up was Barry Walsh. Travis Honeymoon hit a 3-run inside the park home run, and Cam Leary had 4 walks in the game, scored 3 runs. So another win for BC. Good job there for the guys. In terms of other news and around the BC world, it's been pretty quiet. So we're going to probably wrap that up. You know, I wanted to also say that I saw Josh DeBerry has kind of figured out his road of where he's going to go. He's got 4 schools that he's really looking at. The former Boston College Nickelback is looking at Texas A&M, Arkansas, Wisconsin, and I'm missing a school, Ole Miss. So he's looking at some pretty good schools. So hopefully he gets there. While former BC offensive lineman Finn Durstein, who was a starter for a couple of games last year, got hurt. He's been getting all sorts of like group of 5 schools. I saw him with a bunch of MAC schools. He just got a UAB offer this morning. We'll see all that. See where those guys land. And remember, April 15th is the spring game. April 15th is also when the transfer portal kicks in. And I've said this already. I very much expect the Eagles to go in actively into the transfer portal to get guys, but I also expect that BC might lose a guy or 2. So we'll have to wait and see what happens after spring ball. And we'll talk about all that as the summer kicks off. Now we're going to wrap things up here. This is all I have for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll be back again for tomorrow for another show.